They stormed across my front yard like they were on a mission to save the neighborhood from a zombie apocalypse. Armed with notepads, measuring tapes flapping in the breeze, and faces so smug you'd think I'd build a neon casino instead of a modest backyard fence. I was in the middle of pruning my rose bushes when Laura, the HOA president with the charm of a tax auditor, bellowed, "That fence is 4 inches over the line. You're ruining Willow Creek's aesthetic harmony." I froze, staring at my freshly stained oak fence, the wood still fragrant. Then I looked at Laura, who seemed ready to summon a SWAT team. She had no idea she'd just sparked a battle over a few inches, a battle she was destined to lose. What Laura didn't know, and what I was about to uncover, was that her precious community tennis court, the pride of the Willow Creek HOA, wasn't just near my fence. It was smack dab on my property, and I had the documents to prove it. It all started innocently enough. I'd finally decided to put up a fence along my backyard, something I delayed for years due to a hectic job, constant travel, and honestly, not caring much about my lawn's edges. But after neighbors' dogs turned my garden into their personal toilet, I'd had enough. I hired a contractor, got the permits, and had the property line triple-checked. The fence went up smoothly until the HOA got wind of it. The next morning, a bright pink violation notice was taped to my mailbox like a scarlet letter. Unauthorized structure disrupts community cohesion. Remove within 10 days. I thought it was a mix-up. Maybe they meant the Petersons' yard, which looked like a junkyard art project. But no, it was me they were after, all because their outdated records claimed my fence crossed their sacred boundary by a few inches. I tried to talk sense into them. I and Ted Laura, her sidekick Tom, the HOA treasurer who acted like he owned the place, and Susan, who clutched the HOA rulebook like it was a holy relic to see my official survey. They laughed it off, calling it doctored. Doctored? Who fakes a city-issued land map? But reason was useless. Laura puffed up and snapped. "Take it down by Monday, or we'll see you in court." And just like that, they strutted off. The next day, a lawsuit notice arrived. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a vendetta. Most folks would have backed down, but I'm not most folks. I work in city planning, so I know property laws inside out, and I know where to find the dusty old files that predate the HOA's existence. I took a day off, headed to the City Hall basement archives, and dug through boxes until I struck gold. A faded envelope labeled Original Boundary Plan, Willow Creek Subby VY Shoumbie 2. I opened it and saw the truth immediately. The property lines didn't match the HOA's map, not even close. My land stretched 12 feet further than anyone thought, right into the space where their beloved tennis court, its fancy bleachers, and even the smoothie shack they built last year now stood. I raced home, spread the plans on my dining table, and checked the coordinates with mapping software. No mistake. That land was mine. Over the next few days, I played it cool. I hired a private surveyor with high-tech GPS gear to confirm my find, marking the true boundary with discreet, eco-friendly paint dots in VY Cybele unless you knew where to look. As we worked, Laura's patrol squad passed by, eyeing us suspiciously. She even marched over once, demanding to know what we were doing. "Just updating my yard plans," I said with a grin. She didn't buy it, but she couldn't stop me. Not yet. I let the lawsuit roll on, keeping my cards close. I didn't flinch when Laura bragged around the neighborhood about her slam dunk case or when Tom posted a snarky HOA newsletter about my illegal fence. I let their arrogance fester. Then, 3 days before their big HOA hearing, I dropped the bomb. I sent a certified letter with the fresh survey, copies of the original plat, and a formal notice that they were trespassing on my land. I demanded they stop using the tennis court and its facilities, or I'd slap them with a cease and desist order and sue for damages. I included drone photos showing exactly where their court crossed my property line. It was a knockout punch. At the hearing, a neighbor who was there said Laura's face went white when she opened my letter. She flipped through the pages, shouting that they were fake, but the room fell silent. Even Susan, her loyal follower, whispered, "Is it true? Is the court on his land?" The next morning, Laura showed up at my door, all fake smiles, begging to work this out. I said, "Sure, let's meet by the tennis court. I'll bring my tape measure." That afternoon, I brought my surveyor. She brought her lawyer, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I pointed out the paint dots, one slicing right through the court's baseline. The lawyer made a quick call not to fight my EVY Denke, but to his insurance agent. Laura tried to stay calm, but her empire was crumbling. That night, a neighbor emailed me. They built their court on your land? I'm bringing wine when they tear it down. I didn't reply. I just grinned. This was just the start. The next day, chaos erupted. Laura stood by the court with 2 HOA board members and a nervous city surveyor, who confirmed every one of my markers. The court and its bleachers sat 12 feet onto my property. I watched from my porch, sipping coffee, as Laura whisper-yelled into her phone. She spotted me and turned away, but I waved cheerfully. Her lawyer gave me a shaky nod, knowing they were outmaneuvered. By noon, the HOA called an emergency meeting. No more smug flyers about my fence now. They were scrambling to save their recreational crown jewel. Neighbors who'd stayed quiet started texting me updates. They're losing it. Tom said the survey's fake, and Laura yelled at him. It's like a reality show. Another asked, if the court's on your land, can you just claim it? I chuckled, but this was no joke. I filed a countersuit, demanding a cease and desist on the court and bleachers, plus a city re-VYEW for code violations and trespass damages. Within 48 hours, a sign went up on the court's gate. Closed pending legal re-VYEW. Yellow tape followed, and the neighborhood went wild. Kids in tennis gear sulked, teens snapped selfies with the closure notice, and parents grumbled. Laura sent an email blaming me, claiming I was destroying community spirit. But someone leaked my survey and court filings to a group chat, and soon the truth was everywhere. The HOA's reign unraveled fast. Residents who once obeyed Laura questioned how this blunder stayed hidden. Homeowners with courtside patios worried about their property values. One furious neighbor, Mrs. Carter, cornered Laura in the street, yelling, "You let us host my daughter's tournament on someone else's land? How incompetent are you?" Laura blamed the developers, the city, even my contractors now dubbed fence guys. But the deeper they dug, the worse it got. The court's permits were based on an unofficial map, never registered. The original plat, which I'd found, proved everything on my land was illegal. I didn't want to demolish the court or turn it into a personal vendetta. I just wanted an apology, the bullying to stop, and fair compensation for my land. But if they wouldn't play nice, I was ready to tear their illusion apart. Tom, the treasurer, came to my house, looking like he hadn't slept in a week. He apologized, said he thought it was just a fence spat. I told him I'd drop my suit if they met 3 conditions. Admit the trespass publicly, halt all actions against me, and pay for 20 years of land use. He nodded, muttering, Laura won't agree. I shrugged. Then she can sync with the court. The next HOA meeting was pure panic. Residents demanded Laura resign. Someone leaked emails where she'd brushed off early boundary concerns, calling them petty whining from guys obsessed with rulers. That line became a neighborhood meme. Laura claimed the emails were fake, but trust was gone. Meanwhile, neighbors offered to lease my land to keep the court open, one even promised to weed my garden for summer access. I laughed, but held firm, per my lawyer's ad VYC. The court sat empty, a monument to HOA hubris, its nets sagging in the heat. Laura made a last-ditch move, calling a local news channel to paint me as a greedy loner attacking a wholesome HOA. The reporter asked for my side. I handed over the surveys, filings, and a simple statement. They sued me over a fence. I just showed them the real property line. The broadcast didn't go Laura's way. The anchor closed with, "Looks like the only trespasser here is the HOA." Laura avoided me after that, but her troubles were just beginning. When she realized her grip on the neighborhood was slipping, Laura went full petty. Violation notices flooded my mailbox. One fined me for a porch swing that clashed with community VY Bess. Another for Leah VY my trash can out 20 minutes too long. It was laughable, except it was clearly meant to break me. But I wasn't playing her game. Instead, I built a temporary, fully legal fence not around my yard, but right through the tennis court's bleachers. I checked every city rule, It was on my land, compliant, untouchable. A sign went up, private property. No trespassing. The neighborhood gasped. Kids with rackets stared, confused. Parents fumed. The HOA had to explain that their prized court wasn't theirs. Laura stormed my driveway, screaming about lawsuits and violations. I let her rant, then handed her a laminated copy of the city ordinance and a trespassing liability notice. Her hands trembled as she read it. Then she tore it up and threw it at me. I smiled, picked up the pieces, and said, "I've got plenty more." The HOA's social media exploded. Half the residents demanded answers. The other half panicked about their own property lines. A few of Laura's diehards claimed I'd tricked the system, but the city's public confirmation of my boundaries shut them down. A city zoning officer, an old colleague, VY cited after my code violation report. He checked the court's permits and found they were based on bad data, never updated after a city remapping years ago. The court wasn't just on my land, it lacked valid zoning approval. The city ordered it shut down, drained the nearby fountain, and locked the smoothie shack. HOA security patrolled to keep furious residents out. It was chaos, one tennis net at a time. I filed a damages claim for 20 years of trespassing. The HOA's insurance company dug in and found more dirt. Mismanaged funds, sketchy reimbursements, even a due lot $3,000 community upgrade that was really Laura's patio furniture. Susan quit the board, claiming she was duped. Tom was voted out after a leaked receipt tied him to Laura's scheme. A new board member, Ellen, a no-nonsense former clerk, revealed Laura had ignored boundary warnings years ago. The board ousted Laura, but not before I caught her on camera trying to yank out my boundary markers one night. My motion-activated cameras got all. I sent the footage to the police and my lawyer. Laura got a trespassing fine, and the VY-DAO, dubbed Laura's last rally, went VY-RAL in the neighborhood chat. Laura's house hit the market soon after, listed quietly online. Word spread her husband was done with her legal mess and moved out. She emailed me, begging to settle quietly if I'd let her friends use the court. My lawyer replied with a property use termination notice. The court sat abandoned, its bleachers weathered, a symbol of broken trust. The trial was a circus. Neighbors packed the courtroom, some curious, others hoping to see Laura squirm. The judge, known for cutting through nonsense, laid out the case. The HOA sued me over a fence. I proved their court was on my land. My lawyer presented the original plat, GPS surveys, and construction records showing 20 years of trespassing. Witnesses sealed it. Tom admitted the HOA ignored a boundary warning years ago because Laura said it was too expensive to check. Ellen shared emails where Laura mocked a resident's concerns as stupid nitpicking. The judge stopped Laura's expert witness, who argued community benefit trumped property rights, with a sharp, "Are you saying citizens should let illegal buildings stand for optics?" Laura slumped, silent at last. The judge ruled the HOA trespassed for 20 years, ordering them to remove the court or lease my land with backdated pay. I got legal fees, damages, and a fine against Laura for EVY Denke suppression. The courtroom buzzed as Laura stormed out, her husband trailing behind, defeated. Neighbors clapped me on the back, but I kept it low-key. I just wanted peace. Post-trial, I turned the disputed land into a private garden rose beds, a small fountain, a path with lanterns. I added a plaque, established 2025. Neighbors loved it. People who'd avoided me started stopping by with coffee, sharing their own Laura horror stories. One couple said she'd find them for a tacky mailbox when others had the same one. I didn't run for the new HOA board, but helped rewrite bylaws for fairness. The new president, Ellen, thanked me for exposing the rot. Laura's house sold cheap. She moved away, and her name faded from conversation. But my story didn't. A nearby community, Oak Ridge, heard about my case and asked for help with their own HOA bully. I met them, shared my process, and connected them with my surveyor. I wasn't an active VYSD, but helping others felt right. Willow Creek changed. The new HOA dropped petty fines, required third-party surveys for projects, and open meetings to real input. Neighbors smiled more, planned barbecues, not battles. My garden became a local gem kid's peek to the fountain, and I added a public bench outside my fence for anyone needing a rest. Respect flowed both ways now. I hosted a neighborhood cookout, no speeches, just burgers and music. Even Laura's old allies came, one admitting, "We misjudged you. You woke us up." As the sun set, I looked at the grassy patch where the court once stood, now sprouting saplings. It wasn't just about land, it was about truth, respect, and standing firm. One fence had started it all, and it ended with a community reborn. So what do you think? Was I too harsh, or did the HOA get what it deserved? Should I have settled early or fought to the end? And what would you do if your HOA tried to bully you over a few inches? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories where the little guy fights back.